Hey guys, Leesta here, once again covering Asmongold. However, this time it will be narrated by he himself, where he cataloged his own journey. Here we go.
I want to tell you guys a story of basically how I became who I am, how I got started making content online, and just like my entire history of making content, making videos, making anything that I've been trying to create for other people to enjoy. And this is, I believe, I think, a pretty good story because a lot of this story, I mean, for a little bit of context, I'm 27, it's 2018, January. And that means a lot of this story is going to be taking place before social media, before some of it in the dark ages before the internet. So it's kind of an interesting story. Whenever I first started doing this, I had the idea in my mind of making videos and making content and just making things for people to consume and watch. Whenever I was a very very young kid, I'm talking about like ages 8, 9, and 10. And this partially started, whenever I was actually on the internet, because I would be able to get on the internet a little bit, whenever it was like, young Asmongold sitting out there in a computer lab in elementary school, like fourth and fifth grade, trying to look up cheats for Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo, okay, on Google 1.0. At the same time, I got a home computer, and it was not really my computer, it was more or less, the family computer, and I had a chance to use it a lot. And I would go and they had like this little audio recording program, and I would record little audio skits with my friends or just with myself. And I would also create pictures and just like little cool things like that for people to look at and watch. And then I also would be at school and I would make comics. I have like dozens of books full of comics in my closet and stuff of things that I've made ever since I was like maybe like 7 or 8 years old. And don't get out of yourself; they suck. But anyway, on top of that, I even like we'd have like obviously school books that we'd be supposed to read, and I would not be reading them. Instead, I would go at the corners and I'd make little flip books out of it, with like little stick figures, like jumping or like shooting somebody else with a gun, which of course now would get me expelled. But back then in the '90s, it wasn't really that big of a deal. And I would do all that, and of course I would get in trouble for it. But I would just keep doing it anyway. And on top of all of that as well, I started making videos with my friend Lowell, and I grew up together, and his mom bought him a video camera. And this isn't like the video cameras that you're seeing now. This is like a legitimate video camera that goes on your shoulder, that actually has a VHS tape that you put inside of it that you record directly to the VHS tape. And we had that video camera, and we were lunking that shit around in the late '90s and early 2000s, trying to make some sort of footage for us to maybe show our friends and just show as many people as we possibly could.
They're fucking terrorists, dude.
They're not terrorists.
Hoarder fucking terrorists. Zach, yo, the hoarder terrorists, right?
And this really kind of came full swing in the Christmas of 2001, whenever my dad...
It's kind of understood.
Horde are not terrorists. How's that frosty, Zach?
Ferguson.
Fucking good, dude. I'm about to put some marshmallow in with it too.
My dad doesn't like to spend money, but he spent $300 to buy me a relatively high-quality Sony video camera. And I used that video camera for my entire childhood, and also all the way into being about 20 to 21 years old. And I got one in the interim, and I kind of used both of them at the same time, but I basically was using that video camera for a very, very long time, close to a decade. And never broke it, never did anything wrong with it, but it did obviously eventually start coming apart towards the end of it, but that's all beside the point. I would record basically not only little skits and just things like that, but I would just record like my daily life. My friends and I walking down to the park, us going to 7-Eleven to buy a hot dog, us playing Super Smash Brothers, us just sitting there playing video games or just playing Halo together, or just us sitting there having fun just being together and just recording and documenting and keeping track of my everyday life. And this is something that I had been doing, and I have been doing ever since I was 11 years old, and I had the ability to. If I would have done it earlier, if I could have. And anyway, I was doing that for a very, very long time, and then a few years later, I got a program called, I think it was called Macromedia Flash. and I got really into animation, and I was about 12 years old at that point. And this was before really the internet had a lot of guides or tutorials or anything. And I sat there for about like 2 years or so, and I taught myself Flash, and I learned how to animate things, and I did this all on my own, and I just did this to create content again for people to watch. And I remember I always wanted to put my videos up on Newgrounds, or something like that. But I was never really as good as the people that were putting them up, obviously, because I was, a kid and I didn't really understand. But I went in and I did more of that until even into high school. I think I competed in a couple of different competitions for putting my animations up, and I don't think I really won a lot of them, but we always got very good feedback, and so I was very happy about that. And I was very into animation, and then in my last year of high school, well, my second to last year of high school, my junior year, I got into a class called movie making or something like that. And I learned in that class that I never wanted to be into movie making. I absolutely hated the whole idea of production, directing, and the teacher, he had actually recorded and made legitimate movies, and so he made us go through all of the...
Put my hand there it is. Look at that shit.
And anyway, that was quite annoying for me. And I learned there I didn't really want to be part of that. But then the year after that, I was in a broadcasting class, and I never really put these two things together. But we were in this broadcasting class, and we were in kind of the control room. And it was me, Ian, my friend Austin, and this other guy, Dylan. It was 4 of us. And we would sit in this control room, and we would play Super Smash Bros. Melee, Secret of Mana for the Super Nintendo, and Fire Emblem for the GameCube. And we did this pretty much every single day. And what we also did is, because we were in a control room and we were broadcasting to the entire school, we actually hooked up the computer, or not the computer, the game system, to some sort of a thing, and we were broadcasting the gameplay and the game to the entire school. So effectively, we were streaming video games in 2007, 2008. And I never really thought of this, I really didn't, but I was effectively live streaming video games that long ago.
That, my friends, is why Asmongold is the #1 streamer. Or whatever fucking claim I made in the last video. He was streaming in 2008 at
eventually
his school.
Teachers complained, and we had to not broadcast it, but we still kept playing, of course. But anyway,
#1.
I did that for quite a while, and then I got my new video camera, and towards the end of high school, and you guys go see on this channel, if you go look at the creation date of the channel, it's 2008. This channel is almost 10 years old or something like that. I've had this channel for a very, very long time, and I've been making content on it for, if you scroll all the way down, close to 10 years.
I originally started making content back whenever I was 11. And I uploaded it onto MySpace as well. I'll have to find some of the old videos. So yeah, I was 14 or 15 whenever I first uploaded content onto... and yeah, that was in 2001, and then 2004, 2005, somewhere around there.
Right, and some of the content is over 10 years old, and many of those videos I still have, right? I look very much forward to sharing those with everybody, but I need to actually port them over to being digital and everything like that.
Where are they at, though?
I basically made a YouTube channel as soon as I could. I started making videos, and at that point, I never really made videos to really kind of be a big thing on YouTube or anything. I just kind of uploaded them to put out my life and just to share it with other people, right? It wasn't to be the next, at that point, Ray William Johnson or something like that. It was more or less just to share what I'm doing with other people and just to have fun. And I also made old WoW videos and Burning Crusade with the game cam watermark on the bottom and all of that stuff. And eventually I would just do that off and on until about 2012, 2013. And 2012, 2013 was kind of a big difference, a big deal that happened then. At that point, I had just gotten done working at Sam's Club.
Zach. That's me, by the way. There it is. Cafe Associate. And so, I have this right up here. The first day I come home, and the first thing that I do is I look up enrollment for like the colleges. Going to school and actually getting a better job doesn't seem that bad now, right? Because before then I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll just do whatever the fuck, right? And let me fucking tell you something. After working at Sam's Club for one goddamn day, I put in more applications that night than I had put in the last fucking 3 years of my life. Okay, I was up till like fucking 3 a.m. doing that, and I had to be there at 9 the next day. And so I come into work. This is like my last day. They're like, okay, we're gonna need you here. Listen, you want to learn your new schedule? And this is like already after I decided I was gonna quit. They're like, you want to learn your new schedule? I'm like, sure. And so I'm like, okay, and I figure it out. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna need you to come in. Listen.
Oh shit. But yeah, dude, you should transfer to Dark Spirit.
We're gonna need you to come in tomorrow at 7 a.m. Like, we know it's early, but you've got to do it. We need people here. I'm like, shit, man. I've got to do it. You need people here. So I said, yeah, and they're like, okay, well, all right, that's good. I'm like, all right, what else do you have for me? They're like, we're gonna need you to come in regularly at 10 a.m. And I was like, damn, that's early. I can do it. That's fine. I can do it. And they're like, okay, great. And so that night I went home. And the next morning I woke up 1:45 p.m. It's like 8 missed calls, three voicemails. Never listened to them. Never fucking listened to him. Never gave a fuck. It's like, it doesn't look good whenever you put this job on your resume and you say that you quit the job, right? It's going to look terrible. And I'm like, I'm just going to lie on my next resume. How do you think I got this job? Took my fucking check and I left. And then that was basically it.
And I legitimately fucking hated it. And it was because I had to work around food, and working around food makes me sick. But basically, I still even have, I have my, you know, like the name tag, the Zach name tag on my, what do you call it, on my lights up there. So if I ever feel like, I don't know if I should stream today, I don't know, maybe I'll take it easy. I always look up that name tag, but it's like, yeah, you don't want to go back to that cafe. And then I turn on the stream. But anyway, I worked at the IRS before that.
As I go to the IRS, and I think this is going to be like a really, really serious job, right? Oh my God, I'm working at the IRS. You guys ever watch Parks and Recreation? It was like that, except for there was more food, and there was no Leslie Knope. There were just a bunch of Ron Swansons who actually didn't have some sort of libertarian agenda to push. They just made things difficult because they didn't want it. They didn't give a fuck. So we would have to process documents, right, for like tax purposes and everything. So I go to the IRS, and we go to we have like the orientation, right? And we have to like actually like literally like raise our hand and swear to like uphold the Constitution. I was like, fuck. I'm like, okay, wow. This is serious. Alrighty. Because it's the Internal Revenue Service, right? And we do this, and they have like a list of like they have like examples of like like mail that if like you get this mail, you have to it's like a really bad thing. And my manager was like this 500-pound dude, right? This big old beefy boy, right? And we'll get back into this later on. Basically, I would show up to work every day. I love this. This is like one of my favorite jobs. Like if the IRS, I really mean this, if the IRS paid as well as streaming did, it would be tough for me to pass up like not going. One time we're doing a potluck. This is the barbecued kitten story. And so I didn't want to spend any money on the potluck, right? Because I like, why do you think I have a job? It's to make money. Like, I don't want to go and spend money at my job. So I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck this. I'm not going to do this. And so I thought the best way to handle it was to put on something there that nobody wants to bring, right? And they'll tell me not to bring it. So what does nobody want brought to a potluck? Barbecued kittens. A lot of the people that are working there, I mean, these are like middle-aged women, right? And middle-aged women, like moms, basically. Some of them are, at least. And they were having like a little a meeting, right? A council meeting about my behavior, right? And the fact that I would even think of putting this on there and how disgusting it was that I would do this. And they finally brought it to my manager. And my manager just thought it was about as funny as I did. He's like, okay, it's whatever, right? He didn't give a fuck. And I think they were kind of pissed off about it. They didn't yell at me for it. And they scratched out the barbecued kittens with a fucking Sharpie. So there's no way you could read what the fuck it said unless you had seen it before, right? There's no way you could fucking read it. And so I got out. I never had to bring anything to the potluck. They never asked me to bring a single fucking thing again. And it worked, actually. That's the best part about it. It's like, you know, my methods might not be, they might not be the most polite. They might not be the nicest, but they're fucking effective. Oh yeah, of course, I ate all the fucking food. I ate all their fucking food. Of course. FBI, open up! Yeah, I even brought some home with me at the end of the night. Does anybody need this? Yeah, I do. I need this, right? Oh yeah, of course. And so then later on, we had like another pizza party, right? Because like, why are we having a pizza party? Because it's on the government's fucking dime. That's why. We had a pizza party more at the IRS than I did at 4th grade. Like, we had pizza parties all the goddamn time. My manager at this point, so we were going to celebrate birthdays, right? And my birthday was on the same month as his birthday. And he didn't want to celebrate his birthday because it would mean that he'd have to share his birthday with my birthday. And it would make his less special. And it's not because he didn't like me. He just didn't want to share. Like, he would feel this way about any other person there. So this is the kind of person we're dealing with here. And apparently he decided that he wanted to have, like, pineapple pizza. And guess what? Nobody else wanted pineapple pizza. You know, but for me, I was like, yeah, fuck that. I don't want pineapple pizza. And I wanted pepperoni pizza. So what I decided to do is whenever it came around, they were doing like Roman numeral checks. For pepperoni pizza, I was like, check that shit off. I put like 5 extra fucking marks there, dude. They never caught on to it. They ordered a bunch of fucking pepperoni pizzas. And then obviously they all came home. Most people didn't want pepperoni pizza. That's why they didn't vote for it, right? And so Charles, my manager, right? He was fucking pissed. And so he basically kept himself in his room, in his office. And if I remember right, he was trying to order, and this was like back in the day, smoked salmon to the building. But he couldn't figure out how to get the smoked salmon inside because of the security. So he wanted to smoke because, and then he wouldn't take anybody else's questions because he was pissed off that nobody would vote on his pizza. And finally, you know, he was like, yeah, I don't want it. You guys don't want my pizza? You don't want to talk to me? That's fine. You can figure this shit out for yourself. And so eventually somebody else has to order the pizza. And we get all the pizza. And there's like 2 pizzas left that nobody ate, that they're pepperoni. And so at the end of the night, I'm like, so what are we going to do with the pizza, guys? Oh, I don't know. You mind if I take it? Yeah, sure. We're going to throw it away anyway. Yeah, I don't know why we ordered so many pepperoni pizzas. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But that actually is my favorite. And they're like, okay, well, great. That kind of worked out. And so then I got the whole fucking pizza all to myself.
Whoa! He stole that guy's pizza!
And I would take home food all the fucking time, dude. It was like Golden Corral. Like, I would sit there and eat cupcakes and KFC in the same meal. I love that fucking job. And then on top of that, right? And so we go back, and let me go back to the standards, right? The government standards. So my dad worked at the IRS. This is how I got the job. And my dad was never really like a very, like, my dad was like higher, like obviously he was like, you know, like higher than I was. But, you know, he never really did a very great job whenever he had that job either. So like he understood, you know, why it was low. But I would explain to him, I'd be like, listen, so you'd have to process like 140 documents an hour, right? With certain things, with certain types of documents. And we would have people that would process 7, not 70. 7. There were some people like, because at the beginning I asked a friend of mine that was working there, I was like, well, why don't they ever do anything about it? And basically their logic was, if they fire this person, they're going to get unemployment. So just keep them here and let's at least get 7 documents out of them. Let's at least just get something out of them. It's not a lot, but we'll at least get something out of them. Because they've already paid all the money to fucking employ him and everything. They're invested. They don't really give a fuck. And they would be sitting there on their phone talking to their kids about how much their job sucked, not doing anything. Like literally not doing a fucking thing. It was amazing. Imagine spending thousands of dollars on a governmental fucking background check, and then you get a dumbass and you say, fuck, man, all right, let's get another one. And the next one's even worse.
And I had always just made videos on and off. But what kind of happened is after I went to Sam's Club and I realized how much I hated it, it kind of gave me a different perspective on life and on what I really wanted to do. And at that point, I kind of changed my focus from just getting by to actually trying to get ahead. And I went and I applied to business school.
All right, guys. That's it for today. Part 2 will be out soon, hopefully. Until then, like and subscribe. This took a very long time to make. And until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.